saying is, if you can't prove this God, I can't accept quotes from this God. No one has seen this God. You know, they've seen him way back then. Well, we need to see him now. Nobody now has seen this God. We've only seen the people claiming that they're hearing from this God. And the stupidity in that is the believers that you talk to tell you that God talks to them and that they have a personal relationship with the God and with the Jesus, but yet they need to go to church every Sunday to hear a message from a pastor or a prophet or an apostle who tells them God told me to tell you. Now, if you're talking to this person every day and you on the main line, because you can pray anywhere, that's like having a cell phone, and your cell phone works, you paying the bill, right? But the God can't call. Now, for some reason at this point in church, the God can't call your cell phone, so the God got to call somebody else's cell phone and say, hey, tell such and such that I said. No, you call my phone and tell me you said it. Because that's hearsay. Well, people always want to get mad. If they got something to say to me, say it to my face or say it to me. That way I know you said it. But if somebody else said it, I can't trust that. So if you got something to say to me, say it directly to me. From you to me. From you to me. That's as pure as you can get it. But if you got to go from you to somebody else, to me, how do I really know that's what you said? Come on. Is that not how we deal with information? They said what? Who said what? They told you what? Well, tell them to say it to me. Now, if the person be like, I ain't say that. Oh, okay. Then you can't go off what another person said. They could be lying. Or maybe the person did say it, but they want to say it to you. But if they can't say it directly to you, we're talking about God, the Almighty. You got something to say? Say it to me. Why am I on Facebook and in church and you telling everybody else my business but me? You got something to say about me? Say it to me. Well, so Pastor, no, I need to give him 10% or plus a bonus for something, but you ain't told me about my own. I'm going to work. He not going showing up at work, going through all the BS I'm going through, dealing with supervisors and managers and all the upper stuff at work, and then all of a sudden now I got to give money because you said something? No, you can't. No, it don't work like that. We grown. You got to say it to me. And I tell people, I like the story with Samuel. You know, they taught Samuel what have you in the Bible. I'm not saying it's right, but what happened was, you know, Samuel heard the voice calling him, and he went to the priest, I can't remember his name, and said, like, you call me? He was like, no, I ain't call you. So Samuel went back to bed. Then Samuel heard the voice again, like, came back to dude, like, yo, you call me? He's like, no. He's like, okay, if you hear the voice again, say, yes, here I am. Something to that effect. And Samuel heard the voice again and was like, yes, here I am. And then God supposedly spoke to Samuel. If that was the truth, then you wouldn't have to teach these children nothing. Because God would show up and teach them and say to them whatever he needed to say. God wouldn't have to go to someone else to give a message to them. He called Samuel. And dude said what to say, here I am. And God talked to Samuel. So now all of a sudden now we need somebody else to tell us something. Oh, God is my father. I got a personal relationship with him. But somebody else got to tell you what he said. And you cry, oh, God told me to tell you this. Oh, he told me to tell you that. God said that, whatever, whatnot. But he could have told you that when y'all was talking earlier. But anyway, my point is, I'm not accepting quotes from somebody who hasn't been proven. Whereas Shaka Amos will go, when the apologists shoot all this false information, the brother is deeply grounded in information. And he shoots it down. He shoots it down. So we got two different, I'm going to stay in my lane. because this is called Leaving Religion, and I deal with you on a more of a simple path for those who are getting out, and where he deals with people on a path of a deeper learning of what's going on. So everybody has their lane, and we all choose what we want to listen to based on what we're going through, you know. So that's just how it works, you know. So I'm not going to have a whole conversation with an apologist, because as soon as he says, and then God said, we done. I'm not going to deal with it, which is why I don't like dealing with believers. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather deal with those who have left religion and they're still questioning certain things after they've left. Those are the ones I want to deal with, because I don't have to deal with all of the resistance of you not dealing with reality. Your mind has started working, no matter how slow it is. You're now asking questions about what it is you've been taught and you've been believing that really makes no sense in the real world. It defies physics. And now you have questions, because everybody can do anything. They can do anything, but they cannot produce this God. From my experience, and God told me, but you can't come in, that's not evidence of anything. If a person is real, you shouldn't have to do all that to prove somebody is real. You know, and I hear believers, they say the stupidest things. Well, you believe Alexander the Great is real, Alexander the Great, but I mean, he didn't fly off into the clouds when he died. He didn't walk on water, and he didn't, you know, feed the multitudes by multiplying fish and heal the sick. No, he was a general that conquered lands, and that's no different than Sennacherib and Nebuchadnezzar and other great generals that did that. It was nothing extraordinary or extraordinary where we need to question it. And it's documented, and just not in one book, but in history, you know? So where's this God? This one, and then when they say God, they was like, God, like, who's God? One true God. The one true God. Not knowing the etymology of the word God. Where does this word God come from? And you thinking that just because you got your God, it's the only God. There are thousands of gods, and the same proof that you use to discredit those gods is the same proof you can use to discredit your God, but you are so stuck in faith. And even they had a video about with the girl China, the actress. I can't think of her last name. You know, from Ant Farm. I watch Ant Farm. I'm sorry, I watch Ant Farm. From Tyler Perry's House of Pain. She's also in Black Lightning. You know, China. And she made a video, but the whole video was based in God was the answer from the beginning. And how can you have this? How can you have that? And it just shows how limited, how limited your thinking is, versus how also how thinking your knowledge of different topics is. Because why does it always have to be a who created, who made, instead of what happened? See, religion tells you God did it. So now your only focus is now been funneled down to, ooh, God did it. Now, if you're thinking God did it, then that means that you're not looking at any other information. You're just trying to say God did it and accepting the only information that fits in with God did it. This person said that it had to be an intelligent design, but a lot of people said things, but you only want to choose who lines up with you. Like believers are famous for using Bart Ehrman, who's a professor at a university in North Carolina, who did the religion thing and he left it, but he left the religion thing, right? And they'll be like, well, Bart Ehrman said that Jesus was historical. No. He was saying whoever they based the story off of may be historical, but none of them are saying that the Gospels are real. That's two different things from saying Jesus is historical, which means the Gospels are real, versus they base these stories off of a person. They fabricated things. Historical Jesus, which there was no such word as Jesus back then, but historical Jesus versus gospel Jesus is two different things. Bo Jackson, who is still alive today, who played football for the Raiders in NFL and also played baseball simultaneously, has legends about him today, about it, with the things he have done. He is still alive today. And they talked about how he jumped across a 40-foot ravine. A 40-foot ravine. And he told a story like, nah, it wasn't 40 feet. Can't nobody jump 40 feet. And he was saying, nah, one side was higher than the other side. I had a good run to start, and I did the run, and I made the jump. But that fish, I caught a fish this big. And they say this story, the fish was this big, and the fish was this big, and the fish was this big. And asked the one-armed fisherman, hey, one-armed fisherman, how big was the fish? The fish was this big. So the story grows. It grows. It becomes legend. It's folklore. And this is what happened with David. What happened with Solomon. But we can't find no proof of the whole Goliath thing or how David killed his 10,000s when his people weren't even that big. His village wasn't that big. Solomon's temple with all of the splendor in it, they've never found that temple. Those are stories. David and Solomon, they say, yeah, were real kings of a small group of people. They weren't that big. So what I'm saying to you is just like with Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson did some things that are on film. But some other stories are, he even said the one was fabricated. So what happens 50 years later after Bo Jackson's, let's add 50 years after Bo Jackson's gone, or 100 years after he's gone, and they tell these stories that are not on tape? He could literally be Jesus. You have that one, I'm not gonna look up his name, guy that died some years ago, and they said they thought he was gonna come back, and they waiting for him to come back in our time. So how hard would it be for back then in the Bronze Age, with no technology that we have, to just make up stories? And a lot of people had gospels that just didn't make the Bible, or the canon as they call it. They had a lot of gospels that they threw out, and then they edited those gospels to line up the way they want to do, even though they still contradict each other today. They still contradict, but they fabricate a story about a person. But not one Christian can go into a hospital and lay hands on the sick and they shall be healed. Not one Christian can get bit by a venomous snake and live unless somebody got some anti-venom that was invented by science. Yeah, science comes into play. Let me go here. So Christians want to always dog out science, evolution, and their number one go-to is, where do we all come from? Where do we all come from? No one knows. And anyone with sense can say, guess what? We don't know. And Christians say, but we know. How do you know? Because the Bible says in Genesis, but you got two creation stories. Because in Genesis chapter 1 it says that God made man. He made them male and female. created he them in his own image, after his own likeness. And if he made man, male and female, in that pantheon of gods, mean there had to be a male deity present and a female deity present in order to make male and female. Because why would you make man with a penis that sticks out and a woman with a vagina that goes in, unless it's what was already doing? The bottom line is, man made God in his own image. Man made God. They didn't know. These people at that time didn't know anything, so they made stories to pass on. They're not to be taken literally, because that's the first story in Genesis chapter 1. But in Genesis chapter 2, God makes man first from the dust of the earth. Makes him till the garden. Makes him name all the animals. Somehow God is like, wow, the elephant got elephant, and you know what I'm saying, and the lion got the lioness, and the tiger got the tigress, and this got the that, but ain't nothing to fear for man. Wow, that just totally slipped my mind. Let me make a mate, or help meet, as they say. Let me make something for Adam. Because in all that I was doing, I just totally forgot. He ain't got nobody that made with. How did I forget that? I know everything. And everything before it happened and after it happened, but I totally forgot that. So let me go ahead and make him help me. Put him to sleep, take a rib out of his body, and create another person, which Adam called woman. Because she's of my flesh. Adam named her woman, and then later he named her Eve. In chapter 3 he named her woman. Chapter 4 he called her Eve. But so God made him with a penis, not knowing a vagina was coming along the way? Really? Or did man make this story? Two different creation stories. If you don't believe me, read from Genesis chapter 1 verse 1 to Genesis chapter 2 verse 3. Genesis chapter 2 verse 4 will tell you it's a whole new story. And they believe that the second story was written first, but if you get the first story out the way, the second one segues into the rest of the things about the serpent and then Cain and Abel. If you had done the second story first, it doesn't segue as good. So when you edit out all that, do this story first, get it out of the way. God created heaven and the earth, and he made it all out of order because he said, let there be light on the first day. What was the light? There was no light because on day 4 he made it the sun. He made the sun, which is a star. Then he made the moon. Then he made the stars. But the sun is a star. Somebody didn't know this. Somebody didn't know that plants need light for photosynthesis. So why would you make the plants before you make the light? You would make the source before you make the things that need the source. That makes no sense. This is just a story. Right. So the second story, so in the first story, he makes the vegetation, the animals, vegetation, everything before he makes man and woman. Man and woman at the same time. Second story makes man, then makes the animals and vegetations. Down the line, kind of forget what he had done, makes the woman. Two different stories. Makes no sense. To us now, we know it's just stories. Then the flood story. So the whole world got flooded. So God got to open up the floodgates. What floodgates? That's like saying the story that they say where space is water. Those are certain claims. Space is water. So God just let some of that water in here because there's not enough water on earth to flood the entire earth. Because if it was, it'd be flooded now. But we have continents that are not flooded. We might have a flood in an area, but not flooding everything. So where would all this water come from? And then perfect design. Ooh, intelligent design. Ooh, make creatures that majority live off of fresh water, but make 75% of that water salt. Make 75% of that water salt. They can't even drink most of this water, so make it like that. Flood the whole earth. How do we get fresh water again? What happened to the freshwater animals when you flooded the earth? And because of the rise and water has pressure. Ever heard of water pressure? Water. You ever swim to the bottom of a 12-foot pool, 15-foot pool, and your ears start popping out, hold your nose and blow out? These animals, just because they're in the water, don't mean they're not susceptible to pressure. So the animals that live deep in the sea cannot come to the surface. They are pressurized to live deep. Some animals live near the surface. Just because they live in the water don't mean you could just add a whole bunch of water for 40 days and 40 nights and they're cool. No, you've messed up the whole ecosystem. All this salt water, whatever water has covered all the trees, all the vegetation, everything's dead. It's dead. It's not getting any sun. And it's not designed to live underwater. It's not seaweed. It's trees. And one believer in a group, I had never heard this answer before. Dude was like, how could, non-believer said, how could the vegetation survive? The Christian had the nerve to say, Adam probably carried a bucket of seeds. I was like, wow, I hear them make up the stupidest things. I told another video when a dude said he knew a guy that was murdered and his mother brought him back to life. He was murdered, but his mother brought him back to life. If he was brought back to life, that cancels out the murdered. So Adam brought a bucket. Who said a bucket? So Adam brought a bucket of seeds. So when he had time to get the seeds when he was building the ark? And was he concerned with all of that? He's all into that type of science and knowing the different plants. If you could just say, you know what, it's just a story. That solves it all, other than thinking that you fit all these animals on a 500-foot ark that was smaller than the Titanic, when the Titanic is way smaller than a cruise ship today. The Titanic to a ship today is almost like a rowboat. I mean, almost like a tugboat. That was huge for then. The Titanic is a tugboat to a ship today, basically. So, they're just stories. But believers' minds are so twisted into this stuff, you can't get them to not believe it. No matter how many facts you present them, the cognitive dissonance will set in, and they will kick facts out. Ask them. So when you hear God, is he audible? Or is it in your head? And see if they'll answer you. Because if he's audible, everybody in the room can hear it. I never hear believers talk about God talking to two people at the same time, audibly. A real person, I'm on this video and everybody watching this video will hear the same message. A real person can talk to people audibly, at least two people at the same time. You hear the same message. That one ain't got to say, did you hear what I heard? You heard what I heard? We heard the same thing. Well, but believers, it's always, he talked to me audibly by myself. He talked to me in my head. Of course, that's by yourself. But let's make this thing real. All right? I might be all over the place with this video, and some of y'all watching the video, you're leaving religion, and you just think, man. Just common sense. Anything that defies physics, it's not real. And a lot of this stuff, please show me where you can find where the children of Israel were enslaved in Egypt for 400 years. Nobody else knows about it, and how they got out by the Red Sea parting. Nobody else knows about it because Canaan was run by the Egyptians at the same time that they escaped. So they would have left one area and ran into a garrison of Egyptian soldiers and soldiers right after they left. Just like we got military bases all over. So you think they stayed in one place? No. Military bases all over the place. How can you run a whole area just from your area? America can't just run America and do what it does from here. We got bases all over the place. That's facts. That's how you do it. Garrisons are just bases. So we just got a base here in America, and we got people in the military, we got bases all over the place. Let's deal in reality. If you just leave in religion, just keep thinking. Don't go back. Don't listen to them because they can't answer you because their minds are trapped and they got to keep you in their bubble because once you leave, trust it, they're going to tell you that Satan done deceived you and you're going to hell. I'm sorry. Satan going to be somewhere in there and you've been deceived. You need to come back to the myth. Come back to the island of mythology and don't go into the land of what's it called? Information where you can get on your cell phone and find out with your smartphone. Your smartphone, find out what's going on. Look for yourself. Stop believing and know. Don't believe, know. So anyway, y'all, I made the video. I'm out of here, and I will see y'all next time. Peace.